How hard could it be?
We definitely can do this. How hard could it be?
Hey, how hard could it be?
How hard could it really be?
Well, thank you for chatting here. I'm excited to catch up with you. I know we texted back and forth over the past couple weeks just about why a podcast is interesting and what we would want to talk about, what we don't want to talk about. And I want to first just kick that question to you of why are you interested in doing this, and what are you hoping to chat through here?
Oh man, I don't know. You're like the only other psychopath I know who does what we're trying to do, or at least that's our age. And I think talking shop is really interesting. Like you get a lot of podcasts about fashion, but they're mostly just, bros giving their opinion on, style and developing a personal style. And I like those podcasts too, but when those podcasts skew a little bit, like when they get other creatives or brand owners or designers to talk shop a little bit like that, those are the podcasts that I really enjoy, but there's just like not that many of them. Or it's or it's a brand's podcast and they kind of just promote their own brand, and or they promote a particular creative, and that those are cool too, but the fucking nitty gritty shit that customers, they don't even know. They don't even know what we're doing. So to let them into that world is a good idea.
I'm with you. The kick in the butt for me, I was on a podcast about the screen printing industry, and the guy was like, why are you not creating content? What you do is so cool. And I've been doing it for 8 years, and it's still cool to me, but I forget about that. And thinking back through it, I was looking for people like me that were my age, or even within 3 decades of my age, that could talk about what we're working on now, a cut and sew factory. I started 8 years ago in September, and there was literally nothing. I was listening to How I Built This all the time by myself in my garage at midnight, screen printing shirts. And it's cool to listen to that and hear other entrepreneurs, but they're making cookies or perfume, or like there's nobody talking about manufacturing and building a factory from the ground up. And so I also think there's going to be a big wave of that in the future.
Yeah.
Just our industry is literally dying out. I hate to say literally, but there's people, I'm sure you know who I'm thinking of. People have died that you and I have both talked with and worked with. And I talked to a guy the other day. He called me and I found out later he was literally laying in the ICU talking to me about fabric. And I was like, what, first of all, why are you doing that? Fabric is not that important. Get yourself healthy. But it's just, I think there's going to be a lot of new energy coming up, and it'd be cool to talk with you and just share our stories, because I think other people will benefit from that in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's I'm a little bit behind you, especially with bringing it in-house and doing it ourselves, and I'm definitely behind a lot of other brands and just making things in America at all. But I do see we're still selling things to customers, and whether or not they value things being made here or things just being made properly is that's unfortunately that's the only thing that really matters. Like, will people actually pay an increased price for making things here? And luckily it does seem like our generation, and maybe even people slightly older than us, and then definitely people slightly younger than us, do care. Like, they seem to actually care. I think, like, for me, and I don't know if it's the same for you, like, I feel like, because like the Industrial Revolution and globalized markets is like, it's only happened once. It happened one time, like, post World War II, or even, later than that, when the internet gets invented, it made it even more easy. Like, when all the big brands in America offshored, that was the first time that ever happened, and that was the first time it was ever possible for it to happen. And I feel like people like me and people like you and the customers that care are starting to understand that was a mistake. We made, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I'm not necessarily like throwing blame at a brand or a company for trying to increase their profit margin. They probably just thought it was a brilliant idea at the time. It's like, you're telling me I can get cheaper labor. Like, and those people who are doing that labor are excited to get that work. Like, they have no work right now, and we're about to give them a lot of work. They're excited to do it. We're excited to get better prices. I'm not necessarily saying that that's a terrible thing, but to offshore all of it and to just be completely reliant on other people to sew together clothes, like that, like, you need clothes. Everybody needs clothes, and we need lots of stuff, and we don't make any of it. So like an entire generation of people came and went, and now me and you, we're, I'm in my mid 30s, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why does nobody know how to sew? Why don't middle schools have shop class anymore? Why don't they have home ec anymore? I sound like a fucking boomer. It's crazy. I sound like my father, but it's true. Like, we traded it all for being idea men and like having these like quote unquote like higher positions of like sitting in front of a computer and doing, finance work, essentially. Like, that's what our whole entire economy has been forced to be based on. Like, that's stupid. That's really just stupid. Like, somebody needs to be making shit here. Lots of people do. Not nearly as many as they used to, obviously.
There's a lot more than I realized, and there's some really good databases of American-made companies, not just clothing. But I've when I first started doing this 8 years ago, I was like, yeah, there's only 2 or 3 other places that are making clothes in the U.S. And little did I know, there's hundreds, but that's hundreds compared to 5,000-10,000 that there used to be, and so it's still a drop in the bucket. But there's a lot of folks doing really great things in smaller ways and some bigger ways. But I'm hoping we can get some guests of those people and just like pick their brains, and this is really good. You've mentioned a couple times that the week's been getting you down with learning the machines and the technology, and it's always good to commiserate with other people that have done it or are going through it. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you with some level of regularity to work through those problems.
Yeah. I'm not stupid enough to have thought this was going to be easy. Like, I knew, and again, you're probably the same way, where like, something being incredibly difficult is how I know I'm on the right path. Like, if it's super easy, that means you're doing it wrong. Like, you're like, and it's almost, especially in terms of like, educating yourself and like becoming gaining valuable skills. It's like, in what world do you think it's going to be? Like, the harder it is, the better. It's like, it's going to weed out 99.9% of people who are just not willing to do the work. So like, I knew it was going to be rough, like, for a long time, and it's still going to be rough, but like,
and it is,
it's very rough. But it's also like incredibly rewarding and fulfilling. And as I learn, now it's been like several months, and the first couple months were an absolute fucking tornado of like, we need to get a collection together to put out. Next week, our fall line comes out, and we had our pop-up in Manhattan last week, and
which I want to hear about.
Yeah, and we needed product for that, so it was like rushed. The product turned out great, but like, we rushed and we didn't like set up our systems properly to be hyper efficient. And now, like, post pop-up, and now that all that product is done, and we're working on the next line, now is where I'm like really putting the work in of like figuring out how to like for the last, several styles that we've done, we didn't print markers. We just like, we had paper patterns and we set them up on the table, however looked best. And then we cut around, like really old school, like small hobby shop style shit, and like, it worked fine. And that's how, a lot of our like our cutter and our main the woman who runs our is the production manager, like, they know how to work that way, so it's fine, and it came out great. But it would also be nice to just be able to hit a button and print out markers and get everything, really organized and really streamlined and really efficient. Because like an hour is a big deal. Like if you can cut an hour
Yeah.
off of an operation, you're talking about like making your product cheaper for your customers and being able to move on to something else quicker. It's like,
Or even just go home and see your kids an hour earlier makes a huge
yeah,
difference if you can do that every week. Like that hour really
yeah,
adds up. We had something like that. I mean, you're never going to not be finding those efficiencies. We just had a factory owner today I was talking to in Pennsylvania. We had an issue where some crew necks that are all from the same lot of fabric. They got sent to be garment dyed, and they came out where the sleeves were looking different than the body, and we couldn't figure that out. They were from the same lot of fleece. That shouldn't be the case. And this factory owner said, I asked her about that, and she said, you need to basically every roll of fabric put a piece of tissue paper, and every facing of that size mark it as A, B, or C, so that you're only making a garment with facing A of this roll, this color of tissue paper. That way every single one will be from the exact same roll, and you will never have that happen. It's been 8 years,
yeah,
and we haven't figured that out yet. And it literally today that happened. So just for you to know, like, you're never going to get to that perfect level, but like, yeah, and I'm sure you already know that. But it's crazy that you're always going to be learning those things and picking them up where you can.
yeah. I mean, you just imagine like there probably were like a bunch of people who had these like who lived their life and worked 40 years at a factory and like know all these things, and now they're like retired or they're dead, and like we're like that's really the most difficult problem like in my day-to-day life, is that like I just reinvent the wheel every single day
Yeah.
of my life. Like somebody out there knows how to do exactly what I'm doing, but I never worked at a factory. I've been to factories, but the day-to-day operations of being at a factory are completely different, and like the very specific skill set of every, operation along the way is like you could just do that all day long for 50 years just to, and you'd just be getting great at it, like, and now here we are just like starting from
Figuring it all
scratch,
over again.
starting from like it's like rebuilding civilization, dude. It's a wild process. And yeah, but again, it's like like there are times, and it's happened a couple times now, where like being in the room has saved us so much time and money because we caught mistakes that we never would have caught had we sent it to somebody else's factory. you know like just walking by a table, and you like kind of see out of the corner of your eye that like the bias on a pocket flap is like not right. It's like at a 60-degree angle, not a 45-degree angle, and you like point it out, and they're like, yeah, you're right, we drew the bias line on this pattern piece incorrectly, and like we saved days of sewing and unsewing, and probably
Yeah.
having to order more fabric, and like stuff like that has happened a couple times now. So
And how do you quantify that? It's not really easy to do, but like it empirically from experiencing it. But your garment, your unit costs might be higher, but like shipping, that kind of stuff, like there's just tenfold different things that actually do save you time and money that it's really hard to quantify and show in a total cost that that you wouldn't get if you were buying from anywhere else.
yeah, the best part about all this, having made things overseas for a long time to making things now in house, the best part is that when those things are done, you take them from this rolling cart over here at the QC station, and you move them 20 feet and put them on a rack, and it's
Yep.
done. And you don't have to put it on a boat. You don't have to track it for over a month. They're just done, and then they're done. There's
Yep.
there's no shipping. There's no lead time on the shipping. You don't have to pay customs. You don't have to pay tariffs. You don't have to pay crazy shipping rates that were already going through the roof anyway. Like that's the best part, other than like all that I'm learning about making garments is like, and this is really why I did it. I think like like really in the back of my mind is like, I'm going to know clothing, and I'm going to know designing clothing better than anybody. Like
Yeah.
it'll take a while. It'll take 10 years of doing this, but there's not going to be anybody who knows clothing and designing a full collection of clothing, like shorts, pants, shirts, jackets, everything. We're working on totes now, and like going down to like the minute details that with the old way that we were doing things, which is the normal way people are doing things. Like you design a garment, maybe you have a reference sample, and you just give a factory pretty generalized details. Like it might seem like they're super specific at the time, but when you really get down to it, like I don't know anybody who's like, and I didn't do this, who's like specifying what brand of interfacing they want for their fusible, for their collars and their plackets and their cuffs. It's like you left that up to the factory because you assume that they're the experts and you left it up to them. Like, is it a lightweight? Is it midweight? Is it heavyweight? Are you not using interfacing at all? What brand of thread are you using? What weight of thread are you using? Is it cotton because you have to garment dye it? Is it poly because you want it to be whatever stronger and not shrink as much? Or is it cotton core poly wrapped? Or like all these tiny little details that I don't think 99% of brands are like specifying to their factories. Like I know
Already,
I
you know it
already I know these
in a
like,
couple months. Yeah.
yeah. The learning curve is so crazy steep that I look back even just 3 months ago and I'm like, I didn't know anything about clothes. I didn't know anything about clothing.
And
like,
you had been doing it for what? You started in 2017 too, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like even before then, like I went to fashion school for a year and a half before I failed out. And like I took classes and I was in the room. I just, was a pretty shitty student in general. But yeah, like, I had been doing it for a long time, thought I knew something. And I didn't know a thing. And I'm sure in a month from now and in a year from now, I'll say the same thing about myself right now. Cause again, the learning curve is so steep, but I'm also like very happy that went in that direction to where like I started as a like a pure designer and now am working into the more technical, like now I know like I know how these sewing machines work and I know how these seams are constructed and I know what the limitations are now. But like you kind of see people that work from the opposite direction where they like start out as sewers and like as a designer, I feel like they get restricted, like because they know how difficult certain operations are. They'll design to like to being a sewer instead of designing to like what makes the most sense, like almost like theoretically, like as a as a great like garment designer might. So like I'm also happy that I did it like in that direction. It's like
Yeah.
you can see.
It's interesting. You and I both started our businesses around the same time. I was September of 2017, but we did them complete opposites. Like
Yeah.
I bought machines and just started figuring it out, and I've had my head down for basically 7 years. And this year, I'm trying to look up and say, "Hey, we're making good stuff. Like, check out our product. Let me build a brand around it." And
Yeah.
you went at it building a brand and an audience, and now you're going in and figuring out the making side. And I often envy your approach because you're coming from a place of an audience and a brand. But on the flip side, I've got a really stable manufacturing facility, and now
Yeah.
like the brand, there's pros and cons of both. But it's just interesting how we kind of did complete opposites.
Yeah, no, we're like meeting in the middle, kind of like right when we're turning over to the other aspect. Of
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I know, and it's yeah, it's and then you see other there are other small brands who I'm also like jealous of because they've been working with the machines and working with the process of actually constructing garments for much longer than I have. Like I'm very jealous of like my buddies over at like Graziano and Gutierrez. Like he knows more about constructing garments than I do, and he will for like a very long time until like my knowledge catches up to his, like years down the road. And like same with easy slow process also, like same thing. Like that dude knows how to put together a beautiful fucking shirt, or pant, like Tony Shirt Makers, or even like Grease Point Workwear.
Yeah.
There's some really good YouTubes about that dude and how he put together his factory. And I'm like very jealous of people who started in that direction. But that being said, is like I do feel like I have a leg up in terms of like being a good designer, like especially a graphic designer, and like having the ability to like position my brand and like market it properly. Like I feel like I have a little bit of a leg up. So,
Yeah.
one day down the road, I'll fucking figure out this factory thing too, and we'll really be cooking.
Speaking of which, we gotta come up with a name and a graphic. There's currently a soft goods logo in my screen, and I want to replace that if we ever come up with a brand behind the podcast name.
Yeah.
Keep it in mind.
How we made it in America is so corny, but I do like it.
There's a few on there that are pretty cringeworthy, but yeah, I'm good with that. I like it. And what I think I remember hearing you talk about you wanted to make your garments here for a long time, and you started in the screen printing world too.
Yeah.
Yes, same here.
Yeah. So I started it's crazy. I started when I was like 12 years old. Just because I had an older brother he's 6 years older than me. So he would have been 18 at the time, and like he had a job and he could go to the mall, and he just so happened to have like impeccable style. Like the way that he dressed was just fucking sick. And I don't really know how, because my parents are just very regular, not fancy, not flashy. Like my dad wears, fucking Kirkland jeans and shit. Is like, I don't know where he got it from, but he was like, if I showed you some of the pictures of him as a kid, he like had Jordans when he was like 5 or 6 years old, and like, like classic, like 2000s era baggy cargos, like everything that people are trying to dress like now. He was dressing
He was
like
on it.
in 1998, like authentically, not trying to copy anybody. He was like there innovating it. And we skated and we snowboarded. So like we were like really in that culture. But I was 12 and I didn't have a job. So like I couldn't go and buy clothes like him. And like I'd steal his clothes and I'd mess him up, and then he'd just beat the shit out of me. That wasn't an option anymore. I literally, like, my parents wouldn't take me to get like nice clothes, but they would take me to like Walmart wasn't even a thing yet. I think they would take me to like Caldor, which was like a shop around us, and they would buy me like a 5-pack of white t-shirts, like a Hanes 5-pack of white t-shirts. And I like started out drawing on them. I saw brands that he wore and I was like, oh, logos, those are cool. Like logo flips were popular. Those are really cool. Sewn on labels, those are really cool. So I like just like started there and was like drawing with fabric markers at first. And I'm like, why doesn't mine look like theirs? And this is like pre-YouTube, pre-Google. So I'm on like askjeeves.com as a 12-year-old saying like, how do I put a graphic on a t-shirt? And like literally did not know what screen printing was, and then eventually found screen printing. And I remember for my 13th birthday, my dad got me like a starter speedball, like hinge kit that he put on a work table in our basement, and like got me like a 500-watt halogen light and a big piece of glass for like exposing screens. And I like I stayed down there and taught myself how to screen print when I was like 13. And that's when I started like trying to make a brand. It's like the number of brand names I came up with, like by the time I graduated high school, was like absurd. Probably like 10. It was like crazy.
I'm sure there's still some gems in the archive when you want to move on from Manresa. Go back to that list and
there are
pull the next gem.
People ask me still, like people who knew me from middle school and high school, they still ask.
Yeah, I have a similar story of just making iron-on t-shirts with my mom at the kitchen table. I would make stupid phrases and sell them at
Yeah.
school, and that led to printing shirts for my band in college and buying a one color and then a 4-color screen press. And just in college, I wanted those Patagonia polar fleece quarter zips or snap. I forget what they're called.
The
But I went to
chinchilla.
Walmart and bought the fabric. Yeah. Went to Walmart, bought the fabric, and just figured it out myself. And yeah, same kind of path. You like get next, deeper into it, and next thing you know, you just bought yourself a flat lock and you're making them yourself.
I know. Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. My
Get
mom.
on the harder.
Yeah. That's as hard as it gets. But like, yeah, in the beginning, you don't even. And it's funny though, because like even back then, like I remember discovering that like there were things that I didn't know that I didn't even know existed. It's like, and I didn't hear a person explain this properly until I was like an adult. But it's like sometimes you're like consciously ignorant of stuff. It's like I know quantum physics exists, and I know I don't know anything about it. Like,
And you
but
don't
then
want to.
I kind of do. It's fucking a little interesting, but I know I just don't know anything about that topic. But then like back then and even now, as I like build this factory, it's like there's so many things that I'm ignorant towards that I'm unconsciously ignorant towards. Where like I don't even know what I don't know. Whereas like back then I didn't even know what to ask the internet about, like how do I get this graphic on this t-shirt? It's like I didn't even know screen printing was a thing. And it's like the same thing here, whereas like every day I'm finding out about things that I definitely should have known existed, but I didn't. And now I need to teach myself this entire thing that is like critical to this whole process. It's like every day, man, every day.
Yeah.
And I told my buddy Charlie, my partner here, Charlie,
Yeah.
the other day was like, I do love like working. Like I just like love, like you said, like putting your head down and like I put my head down at whatever 8:00 when I get to the office, and then I work furiously until I'm like dizzy, and then I look up and I'm like, oh, it's 3:00 and I have not eaten today. That's why I'm busy. I better go eat. I've had too much coffee. But like I just like the shit fires me up. So like
Yeah, that means you're doing the right thing. Like, there's probably plenty of other places you could spend your time, but that means you're doing in the right spot.
yeah, but like I just told Charlie, it was like at the end of this week, I was like, I'm hitting a bit of a wall, just like because every day is just so much information coming in, especially like I was telling you, like I've been doing battle with this plotter to try and make like not only so like I'm taking courses to learn how to pattern make, which includes like digitally making patterns or like digitizing paper patterns, and then on top of that I'm learning like basics on how to grade a pattern, and then on top of that I'm learning about how to create markers so that I can print out a marker for
You can make the pattern and make the garment from the pattern. Yeah.
yeah. And like, but dude, also 2 months ago I didn't know the difference between a pattern and a marker. So like again, it's just like so much I don't know. But anyway, but now I have to learn about how to get the marker that I made from the computer into the plotter. And for whatever reason, why does Apple not have anything to do with any kind of software like this? I'll never understand it. Like they don't have any like.
Is your software on Windows? Your pattern making?
There is no pattern making software that goes to an Apple. I can't find it.
Have you played around with Clo 3D at all? It's different type of pattern software, but that's the only one that I've ever seen on a.
Right, like there's like the 3D. Yes, I've seen that one. But like for actual, like if you look up like the most used and like most technical support and like the most powerful pattern making software, the top 5 are all Windows based.
Yeah.
And
what did you
so like
what did you guys end up
running-
going with? I know I was talking to you about that a few months ago. Tuca, okay. And your
Yeah,
plotter
we
is not Tuca?
graph tech. No.
Okay.
And of course, like Tuca does have a plotter, but it's twice as expensive as a
Yeah.
good graph tech plotter. So like
And is Tuca you happy with Tuca so far?
like I like Tuca a lot. It's like going from Illustrator to another program that's also like a vector based, point based program is like difficult just because like they don't have the same, one's Apple, one's
Yeah,
Windows.
different
And like
commands and
they're
everything. Even
different
though
commands and the only thing I hate about it is that there's no panning. Like when you're on the, like you can't like with the hands like grab it and like move it around like this. You have to like zoom out and then zoom back in.
yeah, that
That's
takes a
that,
minute.
that's the only part I don't love about it. But other than that, it's like I'm learning really quickly how to use it, and it's also very compatible with Illustrator. So like if I want to like especially in digitizing paper patterns that we already have, like if I want to take a picture of a pattern piece, like just hold my iPhone above a pattern piece and I'll put a ruler right next to it for reference. I could take that picture, bring it into Illustrator, really quickly draw out the lines in Illustrator, and then export that as a DXF. And then I could import that into,
Yeah, and start manipulating it there.
and then you don't even really, yeah. And then you could just like add your seam allowances and grade it. And, because drawing and building shapes with Tuca is still like, I'm getting used to it, but I can do that shit in Illustrator in like 10 seconds.
That's good. So we use StyleCAD, and the reason
Yeah.
we went with StyleCAD is because we got it. We got a grant in 2020 to make more. How can we make more masks and gowns? The state of Michigan gave us a grant. We bought digital software, StyleCAD, and a plotter and a cutter. You know, that was like our we can be more efficient if we have this technology. And it was the only one that we could buy outright. Everything else was a monthly fee. We wanted to get the max grant. We had to pay for it all at once. If we would have done the monthly thing, they would have only given us the grant for 1 month's worth. So we ended up buying StyleCAD, and I do like using it, but it is horrible for communicating with other programs. We cannot seem to import a DXF correctly. So that's cool to hear that. Like that's how it's supposed to work. As simple as just take a picture, trace it, upload it. Like it should be seamless like that. So you're doing great on that front.
Yeah. And even like Tuca has a separate module where you can like you can have a camera or you can have a picture and you can like almost like auto digitize a paper pattern from a picture, or like they even have like scanners
Yeah.
that you can buy, there's like a board that you could put up on the wall that's like kind of angled so you could put a paper pattern on there and then scan it with the Tuca software. So like if you have lots of resources and like you get the Tuca software and the Tuca scanning board and the Tuca printer. That's like a knife plotter and a printer at the same time. Like, that would have cost another like 20 grand at a time where
Yeah.
I have spent far too much money on machinery already. It's like, but if you had it, if you were really dialed in, it could be very, very easy. But like, for whatever reason, communicating between Tuca and this GraphTech plotter has been like very difficult. I find workarounds, like just to print like one pattern at a time. The markers have been more difficult, although I feel like I'm circling it, and I'm also probably just going to have to call either Tuca or GraphTech and like get somebody to explain it to me. But that's not easy.
You'll get there when you get there. If you can't get it through your dizzy working sessions.
Yeah, right.
That's that's eventually you're going to get to the point where you don't need to digitize, just going back a little bit, but you're going to have such a library of patterns and you're going to be good enough at manipulating them that every time you want to do something completely different, you just pull. We're finally to that point, and it's really great. You can just pull from the 150 styles you've made over the years and just like, hey, we're doing this, remember this one, tweak it, done. So that'll be fun when you get there.
That's what I'm working for. Literally, like that like dream is what I'm working towards every day. Is like I'm like furiously digitizing patterns so that I can make like reference blocks, so that like this is our standard reference block for a button down long sleeve shirt. If I want it to be a little longer, if I want it to have a flat hem, if I want it to have a scooped hem, or scalloped hem, or if I want it to be an overshirt, like once you have those reference blocks down, then you really don't need to digitize anything, and you can just like work off a reference block for your tops and for your bottoms and for your shorts and for your jackets. It's like that is what I'm working towards. I like, and even Leo, the woman who like runs our floor, she's like the manager of all the sewers. She works in completely paper patterns. Like she does old school
That,
like paper patterning.
that's crazy to me.
Yeah, and she's so good at. So like I have her. So like she'll stand over my shoulder and be like, "How much seam allowance do I give on this? How much seam allowance do I give there? Like where do I need turnbacks for when we're giving seam allowance for like
How you're building it. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah, for
gotcha.
like a button placket or something like. So I have her with me, so that's accelerating the learning process like by a long shot. And yeah, without her, without Charlie, this is definitely not possible. So
Paper
yeah,
patterns are a whole nother like that's talking about just being the doing things a little different and new, and that's I think an advantage we both had is not knowing anything about how it's been done. Like I don't know if you've been to the Camber factory, but when I was there, they were still hand patterns and tracing them, and that's the same way they've done it for 40 years, and like that's
yeah,
really cool. But also on the flip side, to innovate there and to I didn't know enough about paper patterns. I never messed with that. It was always just like figure out digital, and that's how it should be. And that is interesting just to see how we can like skip things because we don't know how it was done maybe.
yeah. I'm learning that too. Like at least in the digitize, now that I know the digitizing process, it's a little bit easier. But also like for like we're retooling our jeans, like our standard two. We only make one style of jean. It's a our 207s,
Yeah,
and
I wore them
we
yesterday.
oh yeah. You have a pair, but that was
Yeah, yeah.
the pair that we said that was the pair that was made in Fall River.
Yep.
And they're like good. I wore them every day for 6 months. They hold up. They're great. But also, there are things about them that like, and this is again like why we brought things in house. Is like there are things about those jeans that I dislike, but when you tell a factory in America, "Hey, I'd like you to do this operation like this," they will just say no. We don't do that. That's too much. Like
Yeah.
that doing that kind of operation here is it will like we're not set up for that, like, which I understand. Like they're a contract factory, they need to have efficiency in mind, but like I kind of don't. I can like if it's my factory I can spare no expense like it, and I just
Yeah.
know that I can tack it on to the price of the product, like, and I can just be open and honest with the customer and be like, this is what it costs to make this like craftsman level product. I know maybe you're used to paying less for when it's made by a large factory that pumps out salvage denim, but like if you want to buy from a from a smaller brand from a smaller factory that's doing it themselves, like this is just what it costs. I'm not jacking up my profit margin. I'm probably making less of a margin.
But you're
Probably,
putting the product first. Yeah.
yeah, totally.
I ta- I talked to a store owner the other day, and I was super excited about the meeting. It's a store in Ann Arbor called Today. That's one of I think the best menswear stores around. But he was looking at samples and he's like, I can tell that I would not carry this in my store, this specific garment, because I can tell that you guys made decisions on design based on what was easy for production and not what was best for the garment. And I was like, yep, guilty. He could tell that, someone with a really refined eye can tell that by looking at it. And I like what you're saying. Like, who cares if it makes it easier for production? If that's the right thing to do and to make that garment truly great, like you are going to do it, and you control the margin structure to be able to do it.
Yeah, and that's like the philosophy all the way down to like, yeah, we could farm this out. We could send this to a factory somewhere else, but we know it's the right thing to do it here, and we know it's even more of a right thing to do it in house, even though it's much more difficult, much more expensive. We know that like this ecosystem that we're building is valuable, and it's just the right way to do things. And then like with each garment, it's the same thing. It's like, and it took a little while for especially for Leo and the sewers to understand what we're trying to do is like, because they come from factories where efficiency is number
It's
one. Like
output. Yeah.
output, fucking capacity is their first and second and third concern, but like, and I had to slow them down and just be like, listen, you're going to be doing operations that you maybe have not done before, or, like essentially we're not overlocking anything. Like that's like
You're doing clean finish out everywhere, and yeah,
clean finishing shit. And like, and I've like, I've had the luxury and, the privilege of being good friends with Antonio Chongli from 18 East, who has like been a mentor to me like since I started the brand. Like in 2017, he just like saw a graphic or two and like started following and saw that I screen printed stuff, and I started screen printing for him. And I was like, and I quickly realized like, oh, this is like one of the best designers in America. Like no cap on size of brands. Like from top to bottom, this man knows clothing more than 99% of designers, in this country or in this world. Like this guy has an eye and knows what quality is. And the amount of times I have like brought him a shirt for him to wear, or just brought him something, like anything, just be like, do you like this? Like, is this anywhere near good enough for you to wear as a person who understands like garment construction? And like 99% of the time I'd bring him something and he would just turn it inside out. Like just immediately just turns it inside out.
yeah.
Just like looks at
Literally turn it inside out.
Yeah, no, he just like looks at the seams, looks at the way something is constructed, puts it on and feels the fit, and like looks at the care label to see like where it was made. Like that's, kind of his checklist. And like, if a guy like that sees overlocking on something, he knows like a corner was cut. Like this should have, like if it's a fleece, like this should have been flat locked, but that's a much more difficult, that's a much more difficult machine to operate. It's a much more expensive to upkeep. It's a much more expensive machine in general. Like that's the right way to do it, but it's harder and more expensive. Or even like, with pants, go like walk into H&M. Every single inseam, every single outseam is overlocked. And they do that because it's just fast as shit. It's not the right way to do it. You should be felling those, those seams, and they don't. But like now, I can tell my sewers is like, we're not overlocking anything unless it's like a hidden part that needs to be overlocked. Some things need to be overlocked.
Yeah. Yep.
Like
Keep it from fraying and.
Yeah, right. But none of the major construction seams are going to be overlocked ever again. We're going to fill it, or we're going to, just finish it cleanly, whatever we do. And that's going to increase the cost of the garment, but it's also going to increase the quality of the garment. So like
The value and the longevity and everything.
Right.
You talk about, for me, our thing was flat locking. You talked earlier about nothing good is easy, and if it was easy, everybody would do it. And our thing was flat lock. Like we originally, when I first started this factory, the goal was to be a blanks company and compete with the LA Apparels and Bella Canvas of the world. And I realized that takes a ton of money to have enough inventory and scale to be able to even be close. But then once I realized that, we went completely the opposite direction and said, what's the best possible garment we can make? And it's going to cost more, but that's more important. And for us, it was flat locking. Like nobody here in America that I am aware of does flat locked fleece in a really prominent way. It's common in Canada, it's common in Vietnam, but nobody really does that here that I am aware of still. Brand-wise and factory-wise, and so that was what we decided. And we you know what those machines cost. It was like 10 grand 5 years ago. And we bought 3 of them, and we struggled with it, and they broke down, and I cried trying to repair that thing because there was no mechanic here that even knows how to fix them.
Right.
But like ultimately, 5 years later, that's our standard. That's our thing, and it's what sets us apart. And that's like, I'm glad we went through the hard road, and I think that's what you're saying about not overlocking seams. Like you're going to do it the hard way, and that's why you're going to stand out and be better.
Yeah, and there's definitely like a value in like going at it, just knowing you're going to get your teeth kicked in, like having some humility about it. Like, I know I don't know enough. I know I am not good enough at this, but I'm also like, I'm good at learning. I am good at like sitting down and like I am not a mechanic. I've never broken down a sewing machine before, but I have now had to do it like 4 or 5 times. And I know more about some of these machines than I probably should at this point, but like, that's really valuable. you know? And
Yeah.
luckily I do have like this mechanic that we use is just so, this is a guy from like a past era. This guy
Yeah.
has seen everything, knows everything about every sewing machine I've ever thrown at him, every little tiny thing. Like he came today, like to do the flat lock, and
Yeah.
like it took him 1 hour, and that thing was purring, running through stretch fabric, running through polar fleece, running through whatever we threw at it, running perfectly. I was just like, what a valuable guy this is, because he at the same time he then went and fixed. So again, just learning what not to do. We tried to jerry rig our feet off the arm triple needle chain stitcher. We tried to run it with only we tried to run it for it's built for heavy fabric like denim. It's for it's for chain stitching
Yeah.
like
I know what you're talking about.
yeah. And it has and it's good for that because it has a puller on the back that pulls the fabric through. That's really heavy.
Yeah.
And we have the same exact machine but for light material. But the
For like shirt side seams or something.
Yeah, exactly. And like yokes or even shorts, like for our nylon shorts, we felled every seam on our nylon shorts that we could. But that's only a 2-needle machine. And we're doing a chambray shirt that I want 3-needle stitch on. So I tried to like pull off the puller because the puller was jamming the fabric down into the gears of the machine. So I tried to pull off the puller so that it didn't jam it down, and it like kind of worked, but then like the puller fell over and like springs did like this gear
like
thing,
fireworks.
and I'm sitting there trying to put it back together, and it's like watchmaking shit, it's like I'm sitting there with like a loop, like looking at these little springs, like trying to dial them in, and like they're like perfectly machined parts. And whatever, he came and he fixed that in like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
So
That was me on our flat lock machine. I'd come in on a Saturday, and like taking that foot off takes like an hour just to take all the pieces off and the micro adjustments. If it's like in a 32nd of an inch or a millimeter off, it like throws it out of time and it doesn't work, and it's just infuriating. And yeah, I think that's the next. We talk about the industry aging out or going away. Like I don't know what's going to happen when these repair machine mechanics go away. We're in trouble.
Or even just like Leo is nowhere near retiring. She's like a young woman. So luckily I have her. And our mechanic isn't like, he's not terribly old. Like maybe mid 40s, like late 40s. So like we'll be good there. But like the minute he retires, like an entire industry, like unless he's like, apprenticing somebody that I don't know about, like entire industries will like
crumble.
Like
my guy when I started was Nacho Sewing. And Nacho's no longer doing it. Unfortunately, there's another guy that came from Detroit for another factory that they let us mooch off of their mechanic. But yeah, that's our businesses are at risk there.
I'm completely, dude. He could say like he's a very, very nice guy, and he never would. But like he could say any number, and I'd be forced.
You're beholden to it.
I'm completely reliant on this one man for my entire operation. And he's just. Yeah. He's just good. He's just like, he just has seen everything. Like I even bring him, like we have a couple vintage machines. And he's like, yeah, that's a Reese 101. Like, and he's like, he just immediately starts like opening it up and tweaking things like he's seen it 100 times. And then I bring him a brand new Juki flat lock, and he knows that one too. It's insane. And we would be pretty screwed without him.
There's literally, there's all these different machines, but they're either a chain stitch, a lock stitch, or like an overlock. Like there's not that many they're just different variations of the same thing,
Yeah. There's maybe like 3, right? Like there's like a cover stitch, lock stitch, chain stitch. Like that's basically.
Yeah, because a flat lock's just a big fancy cover stitch.
Yeah, right.
A chain stitch is a cover stitch without the second needle.
Right.
They all kind of.
Yeah. We've been running one of our cover stitch machines with 1 needle, and then even like I believe we have like a waistband applying machine that has like, it's crazy. It has like 12 positions where the needles can be, So and it can hold 4 needles, so you can do like, say if you have
like
top
and 2 on.
yeah, of a waistband machine, but like you can also use that, and it's chain stitch, but you can also use that. Like we've been using that for button plackets on these chambray shirts
Mm,
that we're developing. So
yeah.
like, yeah, like, or even with the chain stitch machine or with the feet over arm like feller, if you don't put it through the folder, it's just a, it's
Mm-hmm.
just a flat. So like, yeah, it is all
Yeah.
like just crazy variations of the same thing. And I guess like it's like knowing cars. Like if you know a Honda, you probably know a Audi or something similar.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Which for your sake, as you're feeling like you're hitting a wall with just so much knowledge every day, like once you get the basics of a chain stitch type machine, like that covers 4 or 5 different ones in your shop, and they're going to be different, but it builds on itself really nicely, which is one good thing.
yeah, I'm probably like, you know, knock on wood, I'm probably screwing myself even just by saying this, but like I do see like there are a couple more little processes and like things I need to figure out before this becomes like a really smooth operation. Like after digitizing our patterns and nailing down the fit of like our basic blocks and then understanding how to output these markers. And like yesterday I was pulling my hair out because this plotter also cuts. Like you can either add a
Mm.
it could either be a blade attachment or it could be a marker
Or just the
attachment. You just switch them in and out. And I was trying to like I got a big roll of like manila oak tag, like thick pattern paper.
yeah.
Because I want to have a pattern printed out in our sample size for every style that we do and like put it on a pattern hook and just hang it over in the corner so that whenever we want to, we find a new fabric and we want to sample something, we don't need to, printing a
Yeah.
marker for that would be stupid. So you just, you pull the pattern down and like I'm getting this machine to cut out a simple pattern. Like it just kept getting jammed and I'm screaming at this machine. It's just like, so difficult. And then like I finally gave up and just changed it to the marker and then cut it out by hand, which is like honestly not that bad. It's like 5 pattern pieces. So like I don't know. Once I figure out these little things, then it gets really easy. Then it's just like I found this new fabric. I kind of want to run it in that style. Let's order sample yardage and then that sample is
Yeah.
done. And then okay, the sample's done. This fits great. All the trim is great. Let's print our marker. And then it's like it can all be so simple. I see it in my head. And
I
all of
hope
us,
for your sake that it is that simple, because from my experience, you think it's going to be, but it always is something.
there's always something. But I'm also just so confident in Leo to know exactly how to put together a garment because she's worked in factories and she's so good. And then Charlie, Charlie's worked everywhere. He
Yeah.
is. I don't know if you can find a better, production specialist. I don't know if you can find one. He was the guy. He was the guy who oversaw every single item that Emelian Door made for from like what like 2016 to 2021 when I like stole them or whatever or like what year is it? I don't even know what fucking year it is. 2 years ago when I stole them. So like 5 years prior to that, 1,000 SKUs a season. He touches every single one of them. He manages like 6 or 7 people underneath him, and he got dude and like just the way his brain works and how to organize production and then like how to do a line plan, how to time out drops and make sure that your payments are going out the door as money is coming. Dude, every little thing is like his brain is like a watch. Like it's just like finely tuned and just like clicking away. And he just does this shit in his sleep. So like with him and Leo, it's like like this might get like really, really good like soon.
And man, I don't know. To get him to leave a job like that, you must be paying like 6 figures, triple 6 figures. You must be paying big money for
So
at
not to,
Manresa.
n-
I
not
gotta
to,
come work there.
no, not to out anybody, but like,
I'm just messing with you.
no. I mean, I try and pay him as much as I possibly can because he is worth it. But also like he wasn't happy in that situation because of like how difficult it is to work with certain people. So he took a pay cut to like come and, work for me. And not to mention like, and this is like the wild thing is like, I don't know if there are any like, future entrepreneurs listening to this, or like people who are like working full-time jobs and doing a side hustle thing that are like scared to take the leap, is like the way that 9 to 5 jobs are set up to where if you're an employee of a company, you are basically treated like a child. Like at every company I've ever worked at, and every company Charlie's ever worked at, especially like even at AME, you're a child and like you're forced to come in 5 days a week, even though your job can most certainly be done remotely at least some of those times. And you've got to work from 9 to 5, and you've got to work Monday to Friday. It's like, this dude is a grown man. If you just say, this is the task at hand, do it whenever you want to do it. Come in whenever you want to come in. That's his job. Like, he is his own boss. He's my boss. He tells me what to do, like, and just learning that as coming from a person, from a 9 to 5 to now being a self-employed person is like, you just get the job done, and you trust him to get the job done on his own time. So like he, not having to drive 2 hours into the city and then 2 hours back every day, and, working from home 2 or 3 days a week is like, his quality of life has gone up pretty dramatically.
I'm sure you know this, but I actually worked with Charlie at Abercrombie for a year that I was there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I did not talk to him once. We were both in the sourcing department, and I think we were one of a few young guys in the department. There was either like older guys that were in a very different place in life, or all females, and Charlie and I were like the only 2 guys, and we just kind of crossed paths and never engaged. But then 4 or 5 years later, now get to work with him regularly with you. So he's a good dude.
Yeah. Dude, he's the best. He's like my best friend, and fucking. Yeah, and now we have like I don't know about you, but like hiring was like the hardest thing for me to do. Still, like the hardest thing for me to do, just because like I'm gonna have to sit next to this person like often, and I'm not. I can be personable when I need to be, but like, especially if they're working on the desk right next to me, like I want to like balance both of those. It's like I want this to be a guy that I can hang out with for hours and hours on end, but then also I want them to be absolutely phenomenal at their job. It's like, how many guys are there in the world who fit that description? Like,
it's tough.
So to get Charlie was like an incredible win. And like, yeah, he's my best friend. And now we have our buddy Johnny, who's running the warehouse, and who's the drummer for like my favorite band, Anxious. And he's just the same way. He's just an absolute killer. And like, I don't have to tell him a thing. Like, he just knows what needs to be done. And he just I just look. The thing that I say to myself all the time, and I don't know if you say this to yourself too, or like if you say it to, I say it to Charlie sometimes, like, especially as we've built out this factory, is like, I just wish there was 2 of me, because there's just like not enough hours in a day. And I'd love to be like printing patterns and also designing garment, like juggling it all is like pretty intense. But like, with Johnny and with Charlie, it feels like there's another me like out there getting work done, like while I'm doing something else. So yeah.
That'll make all the difference, getting a good core, and then everybody else you bring in that. And this is something I want to talk about for future episodes, just like hiring people this sew and training and hiring a person to work and make product is very different than the team that you have there that you're describing. Like it's a different thing. And how do you keep culture? And it's just, that's something I want to save for a future topic.
For sure.
Yeah, it sounds like a good group. I talk to Charlie regularly, and then I harass Johnny on Instagram here and there. So
he's the best. Yeah, he's in Japan. Even just like he's in Japan right now for a tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'm without my homie. It's gonna be rough for the next 2 weeks. So
come home.
Yeah,
come home, Johnny.
I text him that, and I DM him that. Every time he posts something from Japan, I just text him, "Come home, please come home."
I like it. Yeah, that's awesome. You're going to spend a lot of time with the people, especially building a factory. So you should like them. That's a good thing. Good prerequisite.
Yeah, they're the best, dude.
Cool. We're getting late into the afternoon on a Friday, so I want to kind of wrap this up. But I've enjoyed chatting with you, and let's hang on a little bit after this, and we can talk through what the next one's going to be if we want to do a next one. Would love to get some of the brands you named and the people you know. Let's get some guests that are doing it and making it in America.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, and I like hijacked this entire episode. I forgot to ask you about your last 8 years and probably learn a lot from you. So maybe we
That's
do that.
all good. I think that's the beauty of it is both of us have very, like we talked about, coming at it from completely different angles, but we can hopefully learn a lot from each other in that regard, and hopefully share some things that other people are interested in too.
Yeah, awesome, dude.
So, all right, well, have a good long weekend.
All right, you too, bro.
All right.